Coffee with the candidates. My name is Louise Muña, and today we're putting the spotlight on Wil Castro as a new Senator hopeful. Hafa and welcome.
Hi, Hafa. How are you, Louise?
Good, I'm good. We've known each other for quite some time already.
Gosh, at least 20 years.
Has it been that long?
Yeah,
I wasn't going to say 20 years. I was going to say like maybe 10.
20 years.
20 years is good, and I've always known that you've had, you know, a little politician in you. You have this certain charm, you know, that politicians have. But what made you decide now to run at this particular election?
Great question. I think there are a couple factors, and actually I'll ask the same question in another way. So even when I was active at the university, when we knew each other, the question really is, are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? And so I felt that the conditions were right in my personal and professional life, that I could step forward and be a part of that solution making. So there's never really going to be the perfect time to get involved, but there are a couple of things that are going on at the same time. So while I'm wrestling with making a firm and final decision to run, there's a lot of things going on around us that require folks to step up and take the leadership role, at least to contribute actively to the discussion. There's the build-up, other issues relative to education, and I think it's one thing to be concerned about it, and it's another to take an active role, and I choose to take an active role.
So you're a family man.
I am.
Yeah, you are. You're married.
I'm engaged.
You're engaged.
I'm engaged to the super beautiful Dr. Deborah T. Cabrera from the CNMI.
You're marking your spot on the bill. Okay.
Well, she's almost the opposite of me. She's conservative. She's a very deep thinker. She's slow to anger, and she's very prudent in her thought. As a matter of fact, she'd make probably a better candidate for public office. But she's from the CNMI, and we met while I was working at the Northern Randers College. And so both Deborah and myself have something in common. It's education. And so in that respect, we have long and deep conversations about education, both as a practitioner, but also just talking about the issues of the day facing public and private education.
Did she help influence your decision in running as well, too?
She was probably the single most influential factor in that final decision. If Deborah didn't feel that she could support me as a candidate, there would be no candidacy. And so, yeah, absolutely, she's credited. I would credit her on television for identifying Governor Campbell as a man of faith and encouraging me very dearly to follow not a man of policy, but a man who's a good head of his house. And so if that's the single most important factor for her, and she's the single most important factor, not the only factor, but the most important factor in my final decision to run, and then I stand by that.
This is a very interesting election season. There's quite a bit of newcomers, and then of course there's a few incumbents as well too. What sets you apart? Why should people vote for you? What sets you apart from the rest of the candidates?
Well, I'll tell you what, I think this election is important in the context, as I mentioned, of the build-up, but it's a simple answer for me when people ask me this question. And the question is, how can you expect different results by doing the same thing over and over? So whether you vote for me as a candidate, whether you vote for other awesome folks with a military background or a sports background, or who's a spiritual leader at home or at many of the family rosaries, really, what sets me apart, I think, actually I have a lot in common with some of the folks who just got in. I was a small business owner, and so I had the opportunity to work in the private sector and experience some of the struggles. I think what sets me apart against some of my fellow colleagues is not just the education, but the life experiences. I had the tremendous challenge of facing a house fire and trying to work towards fulfilling my educational needs. Then I had the privileges of going to awesome schools that anybody, frankly, if they applied and I think just had enough faith, they can also attend, like Harvard. So I went to Harvard. That sets me apart. I don't even know what the ratio is, 1 in every X, but that's cool. But I don't think it's the sole distinguishing factor that sets me apart. If anything, it ties me together because I'm bringing in these thoughts and my experiences to the table so that I can contribute to that discussion about education. I think another thing that's really neat to talk about on occasion is I happen to know a few Chamorro words, and so on the campaign trail, 9 times out of 10 I'll speak in the vernacular, and people they're taken by that. They classify me as a proficient Chamorro speaker, but if you speak to a native Chamorro speaker, they know They don't credit me for the use of, for the command of the Chamorro language. They credit me for even trying. And so if that's what I can bring to the table, aside from talking rhetorically about the need to preserve Chamorro language and culture, you can almost bet. As a matter of fact, you can guarantee that I'll use the vernacular in session. So I'm going to try my best, and those are the values I bring to the table, the skill set, and the challenges that help temper the kind of decisions I feel we need to make as a community.
All right, so we found out a lot about you today from your passion of education and why you chose to run, a little bit of your family life, some of your fun aspects in life too as well. Is there anything that you'd like to wrap up the interview with?
Absolutely. I try to make it emphatically clear on the trail that this candidacy, my entire campaign, if it was to be nailed down on one message, it should be very clear. I think we have to change. We have to shift the discussion lanes. I don't think it's okay anymore to accept an adequate education for our young ones. I really think the conversation has to shift from an adequate to an excellent education for change. Now more than ever. I thought the senator who passed that, Uncle Bob Klitsky, did a great job by raising the bar, by establishing a bar. There was no bar. But it's not okay to accept mediocrity when the challenges of the day, when the great jobs that are about to come to Guam, actually a lot of them are here, when we have awesome opportunity in small business for people to succeed, you're not going to do that on a 4th grade reading and math education. And so the only way to shift that dialogue is to no longer accept an adequate, but to advocate and to fight for an excellent education opportunity. I know our teachers are doing an awesome job. We have hardworking teachers. But I think what needs to happen is the convergence of government, the federal and the private sectors to come together and figure out what can we do differently in order to deliver different results. Because if we do the same thing over and over, then it really doesn't shift the end product, does it? So you're going to expect different results by doing the same. No. So again, if there was something I can leave you with, it would be this. If given the opportunity to serve the people of Guam, you can bet, you can take this to the bank, that I will fight at every opportunity, both in session or outside on the trail, on Guam or off island, that the people of Guam should no longer accept an adequate but demand an excellent educational agenda for change. That's what I'm about.
Wil Castro, thank you very much. It was a pleasure being a part of your candidacy too. Thank you very much.